Florida State wide receiver commitment BJ Gibson. Why should Noles fans be excited? He's headed to Tallahassee.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, and thanks to the everydayers that make this show so great. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Thanks for being a part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day. This is going to be about BJ Gibson, wide receiver out of Rochelle, Georgia, Wilcox County, class of 2024. Now, Florida State's wide receiver class is pretty darn good, but not a lot has been talked about with BJ, and he's actually got a couple of highlights up from his first couple of games, and I think it's really unfortunate because this is a darn good football player and one that just isn't getting enough attention. He lives maybe a half hour at most away from I-75 in Central Georgia, and this young man makes guys look bad. So we're going to get into that, his profile, talk about what he does best, and how his skills will complement the other three wide receivers in the Noles class. So let's break it down. First off, around 6 foot, 190 pounds, and he can play slot or he can play to the wide side of the field. I wouldn't say he's a boundary receiver yet. That's quite frankly about more physical power than anything else. Ideally, you can do it, but most teams that use a boundary have a bigger guy. Johnny Wilson obviously being as good an example as there is in college football today. Now, where does he fit best? That doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is that he can just move around. That's what Wilcox County does, and that's probably what I'd imagine that Mike Norvell and his staff will do in Tallahassee. The reason for it, when teams don't know where a receiver is going to be, it makes it that much more difficult. Play to play, especially critical ones, 3rd and long, 4th and goal, whatever. And then you can take advantage. If you put people in spots where they're feeling awkward, the chances are they're going to fail. BJ is really good at either slot or outside, and I did notice a difference in watching film from last year or this year, how he runs routes, short routes, deep passes, comebacks, whatever. He's a natural receiver. He is comfortable, and he catches the ball away from his body, etc. So let's get into the points. What are the finer points? These are a few of the things that I wrote down. Time and place. Then I got a whole bunch of subpoints. Just to give an example, watching BJ's film. Toe tap. He had a guy right on his hip. I mean, it was good coverage. Receiver has to set himself up by stacking, if you will, the DB and the quarterback, to his credit, threw a nice ball. But the sideline never loses. Very limited space. Catches the ball, keeps the guy right on his hip, toe taps, and scores. That's the difference between winning football and losing football. BJ has that skill. A lot of guys lose track of where they are, and that great throw is wasted. That's something that's very important. Stop and start. There's a play where he catches the ball down the field, has just a little bit of space between himself and the DB that's trailing him, and the safety's coming over. He's going at it, going full speed, and then slows down and makes the guy miss, comes across, gains extra yardage before he's tackled from behind. Again, it's the details. This kid gets it. He understands time and place. And then when to break. Receivers are taught to run certain routes at certain distances. The way they break down, they'll get better at the college level, BJ included. But he already has at least some semblance of a feel for it. When he comes into his break, he's not going so fast that he can't get a good cut and make a hard change of direction. You're not going to go 100 mile an hour and change direction. Even Deion Sanders in his prime. You've got to set yourself up and start sinking your hips. But you can charge, and all your body language, especially the waist up, will give it away. Those are the finer points that change the game. Jefferson, that plays with the Vikings, is an example. He's probably about as good at it as anybody in the NFL. Cooper Kupp. If you can do those little things early on in your career, and I'm not comparing him directly, let's be clear, but if you're going to be like Jefferson or Cup or somebody that's really good at running routes, the sooner you start taking it serious, the more likely you are to be successful. There's no doubt BJ does this, and he makes it look pretty easy. Not effortless, but at the same time, he's smooth in and out of his cuts, whether it's a slant, whether it's a comeback, whether it's a curl. He does a very good job of making a hard break without just completely giving it up what he's going to do. Now, with that, this is the key here. Complimenting the players in the class. So who else are committed that are receivers? Well, Lawayne McCoy out of Miami Central, he can flat go. Another kid that can play slot, or he can play to the perimeter. Elijah Moore, big-bodied kid out of the D.C. area, absolutely a boundary guy who could play some flanker, but boundary idealistically with the other players in this class. And then the guy that's also underrated, Mr. Frier, you might remember his father that played on the 93 title team in Florida State. That's a great group because they go together. And BJ really helps it along with Wayne because they can play multiple spots and constantly move, making it hard once again for the other team to know where he's going to be. If you cannot find a way, just take him away at this spot. Well, think about trying to take him away when he's at multiple. And that also allows a guy to take a break. If Lawayne just ran a deep post and he needs a breather, and he was on the perimeter and BJ just ran a 5-yard hitch on the same play, he can rotate out. You put Frier in the slot, you can just keep rolling. You need versatility in your lineup. So this is a great group overall. And to be honest with you, I really like the receivers individually, but they actually move up the ladder when you put them all together. Take care.